To start with today's minutes, so to speak, to tell you how we plan today's webinar, if you could have the next slide, we'll get on to. I once again welcome you all. We have divided today's webinar into broadly 6 sections. Uh, First, of course, is what I'm doing right now is extending my warm welcome to you all. We'll be soon moving on to a session which will broadly outline why your kids need this session. What is the context? My apologies. So as we go ahead with today's webinar, I would like to introduce. Yes, I was at Dr. Smriti Naik to then speak about mind techniques. Then we'll be going on to tell you the exact information of how we planned the workshop for your kids and when and how. And of course, then we'll open the panel for question and answers later. So without wasting much of your valuable time, it would be, I'll take this opportunity to welcome my esteemed colleague, Dr. Sangeeta Joshi. Dr. Sangeeta Joshi has done her master's in physiotherapy. She is an antenatal and postnatal trainer. She's a lactation counselor and a fitness consultant and has more than 10 years of experience in working with various multi-speciality hospitals in and around Hyderabad. And now she started her very own venture, SJ Rehab and Care. She is empaneled with various institutions where she conducts workshops and trains students about women's health, fitness, and orthopedic issues. Please extend a warm welcome to my colleague, Dr. Sangeeta Joshi. Dr. Sangeeta, it's over to you now.
Thank you, Vishesh, for that kind introduction, and welcome parents to the webinar. And thank you for bearing with us initially with the technical problems. I'm sure the title of the webinar has brought a lot of questions in your mind, like why this webinar, why the workshop, how yoga and mind training can affect our child, how can it be taught online. So in this COVID, can we go on to the next slide? Yes, so the present COVID-19 situation where the WHO is coming every day with a new research and it is scaring us immensely. But within all this, one thing which doesn't change and is, I would say, unique to our mankind is the ability to grow, the ability to change and evolve and move on. So very small example I would put it here as we have seen our education system, a paradigm shift in that, where initially it started with an open school. It used to be gurukuls, where it was believed, the gurus believed that their disciples have to study in synchronized with the environment, where the child can participate and dissipate the immense energy, his anger, frustration, creativity in the environment, which later on shifted to closed buildings, where 1,000 students have started coming together and studying, and they have a structured timetable and playing 2 or 3 times weekly. With shifting to that, recent school have come up with a bright idea of shutting the environment completely into AC buildings, AC buses, where our child is completely shut up from the environment. And now the COVID situation, where our child is actually stuck in a room in 4 walls and still the education is on. So with the increasing lockdown, the most affected population is our elderly and children. With elderly, we can imagine they have a lot of things like, they still engage into reading, healthcare, they take care of their health, doing different things, they recollect their past, do religious activities, so they are engaged. The population is our children who are completely stuck at home and not able to play, socialize, or interact. So we can imagine stuck in the 4 walls, how is the child going to express himself, express the stress, enjoy, or for that matter, be creative. So can we get to this next slide? So what is concerning us for this age group right now is too much of screen time, which is unavoidable with because of the online schooling, of course. But with that comes inappropriate content as well. So there is no play, no physical activity, leading to boredom, lethargy, and they are more prone to childhood obesity. There is now, over the months, when this lockdown started, it was just, we thought it is for a few days, then it came to be weeks, then now months, and now we don't know till how long. So it's changing the psychological state of the children. We as adults also are changing. So it's a new normal. We are calling it as a new normal in a closed environment. There is now over dependence on the virtual world without emotional connect. Now, with all this background, we have to channelize our children so that we can, direct them in a right direction, where they can become more creative, they can become more stable, they can express themselves. And here, our yoga practice and mind concentration techniques will help them immensely. So let us quickly go into the developmental stage, where we have considered our age group, basically from 9 to 14, because that's the age where the preteens are there, from 9 to 11, and followed by teenage, that is 12 and on. It's just till not till 14, but it goes till 18. But the changes effectively come between these 2 years. So we will discuss broadly them into physical development, social, emotional, and intellectually. So let's take up the next slide, where we talk about the preteens. Physically, we will see that now our children have, grown up a little more height. As they were in the kindergarten, they have become a little more taller. They have become stronger. They're a little more strength. Balancing is better now. I'm talking about 8 to 9 years now. So they are more active, a lot of energy. You have to literally drag your children back home. I mean, few months back, of course. Now, though, you have to take them out with you. So there will be different maturation rates between genders, which we know that girls mature a little faster. So till middle school, we'll see that the girls have a little are taller than the boys, and the boys catch up little later. In the high school, they become taller. So emotionally, this is a very beautiful stage when they accept the parents' family beliefs, and they admire and they imitate the older youth. All of us have done that. So they have a little bit of decision making skills. So sometimes when you discuss something with them, and then they come up with very nice ideas, and suddenly your attention is gone. So they are beginning to question also. You cannot just tell them anything. They have a huge access to their Google Guru. So and one more important thing is they find comparisons very uncomfortable. So we take up the list, the next slide. The socially, they generally see adults as their authority. So now this is the time, parents, when you can guide them properly to take up classes or habits which you can, which becomes a permanent habit and a permanent memory. And now they follow rules also. They prefer to work in groups and collective activities. Intellectually, academically, they vary, and their attention is also better now. So they take up different abacus classes or different things, because now their brain is also growing, and they have learned to use their good judgment. Now, when we come to the pre-teens, after that comes our teenage. So what happens in this teenage? We'll see. The next slide, please. There's a little delay with the coming up. So yeah, so here is the teens development during the teens, where physically, due to hormone, specifically testosterone in boys and estrogen in girls, boys have broad shoulders, their height grows, and there's a lot of postural changes. So you must be very careful for the boys as well as for the girls, because they go into a protected posture, specifically girls, and they go into a forward, bent posture, where their upper body is growing now, and they're very conscious about it. So the parents have to be very careful and keep them reminding. Emotionally, they show strong emotions and intense feelings, mood swings at times. They may not accompany to family dinners. They might not say hi to a regular auntie. So this is all mood swings. they are very self-conscious. Will this dress look nice? What color I'm wearing? All these things. Okay. So now we'll come to the social and intellectual part. Socially, they search for identity. They want to. They want more independence. They seek for responsibilities. Want new experiences. Now they start thinking what is right and wrong, and they communicate more with their friends. Intellectually, now their attention span is good. Their concentration levels are good. They develop the areas of weakness and strength. They understand and somehow try to have a plan of what they need to do when they grow up. I mean, career options. So keeping all this in mind, what we have come up. Next slide, please. So basically, keeping all these changes in mind, our workshop theme is to introduction of a very scientifically designed exercise form of yoga that can help them meet these physical, emotional, and psychological changes. There will be harmony in the hormones, because at times, few individuals, children come up with a little disbalanced during this teenage years. Then understanding the way our brain works subconsciously and have a control over it to improve the strength and weaknesses consciously. This we'll cover later when our Dr. Smriti Naik takes over. So that's how I think. Can we take the next slide? So that is fair idea of why we have we have planned to take up this workshop, and I now hand it over to Mr. Vishesh Joshi with a quick introduction. Mr. Vishesh Joshi did his hotel management from IHM Mumbai in 2005. He flew as a first-class cabin crew with a leading international airlines for 6 years, post which he co-founded one of Mumbai's first standalone Japanese restaurants, and that was really good. He is currently an assistant professor at GNIH MCS Nagpur. Yoga has always been a part of his professional life and his passion, and that has took him to pursue a certificate course later on. And since last 10 years, he has taken various yoga training sessions using Ashtanga Yoga, Power Yoga, and various other yoga flow techniques. Over to you, Vishesh.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta. That was a very illustrious introduction. Thank you so much. As Dr. Sangeeta very rightfully spoke about, this very crucial age in which children are going through a lot of 4 categories of changes, as Dr. very rightly spoke of. Before we get into the complex philosophy of yoga and how we're going to kind of apply yoga to kids, I want to speak about stress in children and how very often we don't really notice or even consider that our children could be stressed. But if you're feeling suffocated at home, if you're feeling a sense of gloom because you're not doing the normal activities, trust me, your children are going through like 10 folds of the same emotion. Children go through the same emotions as we adults do, but their expression and the language is not as developed for them to have a relatable sign and signifier kind of a connect with what they're thinking and what they're expressing. So they might be going through very complex emotions. उनके दिमाग में बहुत emotions का एक भवंडर मच रहा होगा, लेकिन उनको शब्दों में उसको बयान करना नहीं आता. So that's where the first and the biggest problem happens with stress in children. Second thing is social interaction. Now let me ask you all a question. Go back in time, considering I'm speaking to parents, go back in time and think about your middle school days. You know, when you're just about getting into high school, what do you think of? What do you remember? I bet you won't remember toys, you won't remember movies, you won't remember materialistic things. But more often than not, you'll remember your friends. Sorry, is there some problem with the audio? I hope it's not. There's some chat box. When all you could, at this age, particularly social groups and social interactions are paramount. And because of the COVID-19 situation, they are not really, they're not really getting into the field of interacting with their peer pressures. All right. The next point is since they don't have these social interactions to share their grievances and thoughts, they're internalizing they're internalizing everything that's going on. They're going through various introspection. Their lack of physical activity is adding a lot of burden to them. And at the crux of it, they, on the superficial level, on the surface, they might connect with a lot of technology. They might have toys, and pads, and computers, but they don't have motivation to do the actual joyful things that would give them actual joy. You know, Post this, once we understand this, now let's look at the next slide, which will show about the actual physical signs that you might have seen in your children. Please keep that in mind. And, I wish this was a live class, but we'll try and keep it as interactive. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. There is a spectrum on how the kids could react. They could either become very disengaged, or on the other side of the spectrum, they might become extremely needy. Disengaged ka matlab wo apne saath utna baithna nahi chahenge. They're stuck to their own groups, that they're not engaging with you. Or the other side of the spectrum, that they're feeling extremely needy. They want your attention all the time. They want to be with you all the time. They're not ready to let you go. Both these things, or both these extremes, are quite problematic. They could be very fidgety. Like when they're sitting on a table, they could be just doing something and not really being in the space that they're supposed to be in. They might worry a lot. They might get tired and sleepy. And of course, a classic teenage sign, they might get very irritable at the smallest of things. All right. Now, once we've understood this, now let's move towards the yoga part, where if you could have the next slide, let's look at what exactly is yoga. Now, at the onset, let me tell this that I'm speaking about this only to the parents. मैं पेरेंट्स को पहले योगा फिलॉसफी के बारे में कुछ बता रहा हूँ, और उसके बाद हाउ वी गोना अप्लाई इट टू द किड्स. बच्चों पे ये वर्कशॉप में इन फिलॉसफीज को कैसे उतारेंगे, आई एम गोना कम टू दैट आफ्टर 3-4 slides. So please be patient, and first let's quickly look into what is yoga. How many of you actually think that yoga is only asanas, that you're just stretching and straying and that's all yoga is? Well, the breaking news is that no, it's not. Raj Yoga, under which Ashtanga Yoga comes, there are 8 whole techniques of yoga. Asana is just one of them. All right. Luckily for any cultured society, any civilized society, and a decent, loving household, the first 2 steps are already taken care of. That's yama and niyama. So yama is where the societal pressures or what society should be doing. Niyama is what I should be doing, my personal goods and bads. So what we call sanskaras or sanskar in Hindi, that's basically dealing with the first 2. The asana is what popularly people think of yoga, which is taking control of our body. Then is pranayama, which is where we are taking care or taking in control of our life functions, breathing in particular. Moving on, once we have our body in our control, our life forces in our control, then we kind of try modulate the senses which are actually distracting us. So the moment you shut your eyes, your senses are active. The next step, that's pratyahar, is taking care of those senses. Once you have these 3 things in control, you move on to dharana and dhyan, which is concentration and realization, and you reach samadhi, which is the ultimate realization of the true self. If we could move on to the next slide, there's a pictorial presentation of what our true self is. Now, I don't want to go in detail of it, लेकिन कई लोगों को लगता है कि ये मैं हूँ, ये मेरा शरीर है और ये मैं हूँ. Now, how many of you actually associate yourself with this body? That's just one layer. That's what I'm going through. I'll give you one small example. If you think you are this body, then answer this question. When you dream vividly. You feel emotions in your dream. You feel hurt. You feel delight. You feel a sense of being there in that dream. आप उस सपने में खुद वो इसका अनुभव करते हो. लेकिन उस समय, where is your body? Your body is actually just sleeping. So this proves on to say that you're actually not your body. But it's very important to connect with your body in other 5 sheets that are mentioned in this picture, which will come to slowly and steadily. Let's move on to the next slide and let's do a little mind exercise right now. All right. Let me ask you a question. Now that I've said there are these 8 steps to yoga, let me ask you, what is the real you and what gives you the real joy? Now, let's do a little 2-second mind exercise. Think of your favorite food. Alright, आपका favorite खाना क्या है उसके बारे में सोचो. Alright, for example, mine is sushi or mine is say apple. Now when I eat apple, I feel immense joy. मैं बहुत खुशी महसूस करता हूँ जब मैं मेरी favorite चीज खाता हूँ. लेकिन क्या वो joy, क्या वो खुशी उस खाने में है? Is that joy that I feel within is actually in the food that is my favorite food? Or is it actually an emotional stimuli that is generated when we consume something physical? तो बच्चों के साथ बहुत होता है कि वो हर बार पड़ोसी का नया खिलौना देखकर they want a new toy, they want the latest gadget. You know, they associate their joy with a lot of physical things which are outside. And the very purpose of yoga is to internalize. It's a paradigm shift in the way you think, where you don't give credit to outside physical world, and you give your own mind and true being the actual credit of your joy. If we could move on to the next slide, now I'll answer your question कि ये बहुत बड़ा योगिक ज्ञान जो हजारों सालों से इंडिया में पनप रहा था, how are we going to let our children get to it? Now Rome wasn't built in a day. We don't claim that we're going to give them the actual truths and they're going to reach samadhi after doing this workshop. But let me give you an example of Arundhati Nyaya. It's in the Vedas. It's a custom in India where the new bride is taken outside and she's shown that there's this very faint star called as Arundhati. So unko Arundhati Tara dikhana hota hai. Now for the bride, she doesn't know how the star looks. So if you just point to that faint star, she'll get thoroughly confused. So what do? You show the horizon. Dekho, dur wahan pe horizon pe you see a tree. Now once you see the tree, you point them, oh, now look at the branch which is fruitful. Then you show just off that branch, there's a bright star. Now right next to that bright star is that faint star which is Arundhati. So we are breaking down and taking small steps for them to understand a bigger concept. Now this is not something very difficult. All teachers, any good teacher would know what this concept is. Where you're breaking a difficult concept by starting slow and step by step building on. So let's get into how we plan to take yoga into your children's life. We've divided, or we start off with the very first level, that's the level of the body. Now the kids are going through, as Dr. Sangeeta very rightly said, they're going through a generation of changes in their bodies. You know, a lot of times kids start getting these complexes about their own bodies. They don't understand these changes. They don't, the first step is for them to connect with their bodies and accept their bodies the way they are. You know, a lot of times we parents ourselves are to be blamed to a certain extent. In our country, we often say, "Bahar mat jao, kali ho jao." Well, we must make them understand that being dark is beautiful too. The color of your skin doesn't prove how beautiful or not you are. Some people are built a certain way. They're built broad. They're built pear shaped. You must get to the point where you first start loving your body. Once, you have to understand how wonderful our body is. Each and every cell is regenerating every minute as we speak. You know, it's one of our most loyal companions. You know, we might treat it badly. We might eat something bad. We might exert ourselves. But the body never fails us. Our heart keeps beating. Our cells keep functioning. Our DNA keeps going from one generation to the other. So it's a very loyal friend. The moment you connect with our body through yoga and asanas, we start understanding its true value and we realize its full potential. After realizing body, we move on to the next step, that is mind. You know, if you think our body is awesome, let me tell you, our brain is super awesome. It does controls of 30 trillion cells at every minute. And it's also extremely loyal to us. It's been great help ever since with our memories, with our thoughts, with our dreams, with our aspirations. Once we connect with our body through asanas, we move on to pranayama and controlling of our brain and understanding of our brain. The vrittis is what Ashtanga Yoga calls them. They are these thoughts that keep bubbling up. At any minute, the moment you keep quiet, thoughts keep bubbling up. They are called vrittis which come up. After doing yoga practice for a long time, you can start getting a slight control over these vrittis. All right. Again, another Sadhguru, I think, had this amazing thought experiment. If I give you 5 seconds now and tell you to think of anything under the sun, but don't think of bananas. Don't think of bananas. Well, most often than not, it's all bananas that you could think of. These are the vrittis that after taking control on your body and your mind, you'll kind of start pacifying these vrittis. If you could go to the next slide, we'll understand the real source of joy. Swami Vivekananda once beautifully said that if a river is really rough and it's very volatile and the water is very muddy, can you see deep down at the seabed or the riverbed? No. So you have to kind of, with the first two, if you remember, Niyam and Yam, you kind of purify our minds, ourselves. With asana and pranayama and pratyahar, we even make the water of our mind still. Once it's still and clean, we understand deep within our real worth, that's our soul, and we reach our inner bliss or the Anandamaya. If you could move on to the next slide, I'm coming to the end of how practically we're going to now apply it in our classes. Now, firstly, it's, as Dr. Sangeeta rightfully said, the kids need good physical exercise. They're not, the amount of calories they're burning now is nowhere close to what they used to burn earlier. And the amount of food they're growing is more, if not the empty calories that they're eating. I'm not even getting there. So a good physical exercise must, which that's where yoga comes in really well. Apart from that, it goes beyond, and it also helps you calm the mind and helps you deal with the psychological problems too. It helps you build relationships amongst the kids with themselves. It brings one very important factor that the children are at loss because they're staying at home. Because they're staying at home, there's no sense of routine. There is no consistency. If plan, timetable, routine, consistency, yoga ke zariye, they get very nice structured lessons. We also give them breathing techniques of pranayama variations. We do it, involve them with self-awareness and mindful movements. So all the asanas they would do, it won't be a physical asana. They would be connecting with themselves and doing them thoughtfully. They would get their boundaries, they'll own up their space on the yoga mat. And very important, this is one of the rare exercises of sort of exercises which are not competing. You don't go to a gym and see him picking up X amount of weight and you want to do more. In yoga, it's a practice. You do it every day. You have to improve every day better than what you did. It's very important for our parents to not to compare with Padosi Bablu and Pinky ki Sali and wo kitna acha yoga karte hain. It's about how your child does it, how well he's connected with himself. Now let me come to the very end of this presentation about yoga and explain how we actually are planning to involve all these things into our workshop. Well, we have come down and shortlisted some grave issues which preteens and teens are facing right now. If you see the fourth point, it speaks about stress, anxiety, anger management, sleep problems, strength, concentration. These are issues which yoga could impact directly. We have designed customized scientific routines and yoga flow movements which are different each day of the workshop that we're going to have, which would be specific to the cause that we are planning to imbibe and kind of help the kids with. All right, we look at a paradigm shift of connecting not just with your body and mind. They're going to be interactive sessions. They're going to be fun and all inclusive. The way I'm talking to parents perhaps would be very different than the way we would conduct our workshops. To get a feel of how we would be running our workshop, we actually are very pleased to announce that we're giving a free demo class that is tomorrow. That's 12th of July at 10 a.m. So, I hope and I welcome you all to come and join me tomorrow for the demo yoga class and, to get a feel of how the workshop is. With this, I think we come to an end about the yoga part. I hope you have some takeaways. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box. Let me now introduce you to the next speaker, my very esteemed colleague, Dr. Smriti Naik. Dr. Smriti Naik is a practicing Ayurveda doctor. She has her master's in counseling psychology. She is an International Coach Federation approved life coach, NLP master practitioner, and a mind trainer. She has an experience of more than 10 years in medical practice, and she has been conducting workshops for kids, teachers, and various institutions for very many years now. She has specially designed this workshop for kids ranging the age of 9 to 14 years and 15 keeping into consideration their mind and equipping them with the tools which not only enhance their way of dealing emotionally, but also socially. This workshop also includes the memory techniques, which will improve the memory of kids and will train them on how to use their mind effectively, both intellectually and emotionally. So over to you, Dr. Smriti Naik, and thank you for listening, friends.
Thank you, Vishesh, and thank you, Dr. Sangeeta, for inviting me to this panel. I also thank you, all the parents who have joined to this live webinar. First of all, I would like to appreciate that you, as parents, have joined this live webinar with us and giving your valuable time. And that too, it's a weekend, you know. So thanks to you, and I appreciate that this itself is showing that how caring you are as a parent. It's a common scene that we invest as parents when the kids get into the higher standards like 10th and 12th. By that time, you know, kids really don't need that kind of attention, or sometimes it happens that this kind of attention can actually give pressure to these kids. So this is the right time to invest our attention. Like, this is the age, the appropriate age, 9 to 14 years of age, where we can give our attention. This will provide a security, sense of security and a feeling of care as a parent, you know. So moving on to what I'll be providing in my workshop is, this is like, I have designed this workshop especially for the students who are from age of 9 to 14 years. The name of my workshop, the previous slide, please. Thank you. The name of my workshop is NLP Student and Memory Techniques Workshop. So I have taken same workshop many a times with kids specifically, but specifically in the COVID times, I have started this workshop from the month of April. And now this is my 6th online workshop, which I'll be handling with this panel. So, I have taken this workshop many a times. This is what I told you. And before moving to the details of the workshop, let's first know what exactly NLP means. Next slide, please. Okay, so NLP, wherein N stands for neuro, which is related to brain, okay? And linguistic is the language. Programming means the sequence or the series of the codes when it comes to the computer programming. For the human mind, the programming is the series and sequence of many nerve cells coming together, restoring the memory, and actually it is called as neural pathways or neural patterns. So herein comes the NLP techniques. So NLP techniques are the techniques or the tools which can help, change these neural patterns or, this neural pathways. NLP techniques there are many techniques, NLP techniques, but for this workshop, I'll be taking specific NLP techniques which are related to our kids. And, these techniques will help them in their future, academically, emotionally, and socially as well. So moving on is, can anyone of you please let me know where our mind is located? You can just type in the chat box and give your answers in the chat box. It's like many of us believe that our, this mind is located in the brain or somewhere behind the head or front of the head. Many answers would come. But actually, the mind, is not having any kind of structure. So we really can't locate our mind. So mind is actually symbolically, it is represented as iceberg, Iceberg, we have the upper part, which is above the sea level, and the below part, which is down the sea level, which we can't see. So the conscious mind, when we see the upper part of the iceberg, it is related to the conscious mind, and the lower part of the brain, the lower part of the iceberg is related, or it is symbolic, it represents the subconscious mind. Next thing is, we are using 10 to 20% of our subconscious mind, but 80 to 90% of our mind is not being used properly, So this NLP techniques will help us to use or tap into the power of our subconscious mind and use it effectively, so that our kids can help themselves while evolving in this age. So next thing is next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Oh yeah, thanks. So now we are seeing that the upper portion, that is the conscious mind, is related to thought, speech, and voluntary movement. Okay, this is what I told you, that 10 to 20% of the mind which we are using consciously. Here comes the thought, speech, and voluntary actions. But what about the beliefs, emotions, all sort of emotions, values, involuntary movements, and everything, habits, addictions? These all are there in deep down in our mind, that is in the subconscious level. So next slide, please. So now what we will do is we will just try to understand how our belief is made. So it is all it's said in psychology that our belief system is majorly developed in the age of 0 to 7 years. It's a very it's an age wherein the belief system is majorly developed. So we will take an example first, how the belief is made. For an example is this is a sentence which is money doesn't grow on trees. See, this is just a sentence. Now, how belief is going to made by this sentence is what we are trying to listen to. Is this sentence, money doesn't grow on trees. A person consumes the information from the outside world through 5 senses. Okay, here in this case, it's the hearing sense which we are using. So a person consumes this information, and here comes the conscious mind. Now, conscious mind will process this information, and then it will, try to agree to that information. And here comes the next level. Next slide, please. Okay, here comes the next level, that it sinks into the subconscious mind. Where we say that let the thought sink in. What exactly it means is, let the thought sink in when the conscious mind agrees to it, and it gets into the subconscious level, where now the belief is made. Okay, this is how the belief is made. This is the chemistry. This is a logical thing, that this is how the belief is made. Now, in case when this belief is made, it is again, this belief manifests and grows into the body in terms of action or inactions. Okay, so when the belief is strengthened, either we will take action. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So it's like if our belief is it's there in our subconscious mind, and it's giving us a bodily this thing. It is growing or manifesting itself in the bodily actions. Then again, these actions, in terms of this sentence, it will be like learning the skills to how to make money or how not to make money. So sometimes what happens, people would take it as a thing that okay, maybe I'm not able to make money because money doesn't grow on trees, right? So they will not take action, and their belief system will strengthen like that. Because again, when the belief is into the action in action stage, it is again going to give us results which will be positive or negative. If we get positive results, it will be fine for us, right? That we will, okay, I can get into this, and I can possibly do this or do that. But when we get negative results, what's the condition of a mind is? It's like we will not take action. We will say, okay, money doesn't grow on trees, so I'm not going to learn the skills also, I'm not going to take action also. And here comes the belief is now reinforcing the belief system, subconscious, everything, and it's a loop or vicious circle which we will observe. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so previous slide only, thank you. Previous slide. Yeah, thank you. So this is what is happening with the thought. Single thought is creating so many disturbances in the subconscious mind. So just imagine what kind of chaos would be there in the subconscious mind of your kid right now. and this is with the COVID times, it's very difficult now. What would be the situation of their subconscious mind? Just try to imagine that. Sometimes their friends of the kids would say that, mathematics is very difficult subject, or history is so boring. All these things will come into their ideas, then the conscious mind will agree to it, then it sinks into the subconscious mind, and what happens? Struggle in studies related to these subjects. So this is what is happening with our subconscious mind, and just imagine what will be the chaos in our kids' mind. Next slide, please. These kind of chaos can be handled with the NLP techniques. Okay, this is what I would like to share. Next thing is again, we will see how the person mind is how the person mind is comprised of. It is the IQ, EQ, and SQ. Okay, IQ is the intelligence quotient. Okay, EQ is the emotional quotient, and SQ is the social quotient. So IQ is again related to the intelligence quotient, wherein the mathematical, logical, reading and writing skills comes in, where we are only using not the subconscious but the conscious mind only. Now, when it comes to EQ, it is related. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when it comes to EQ, that is the emotional quotient, it is related to the emotional intelligence of any person. It is then it is comprised of again 5 things. That is the motivation level, empathy, social skills, self-regulation, and self-awareness. Okay. So what exactly emotional intelligence would comprise of is motivation, like how our kid is going to be motivated. Is the kid self-motivated, or the kid needs a group to get motivated? This is what the motivation is there. Now, empathy, how the kid empathize with the peer group or the people around him or her. What exactly empathy means is getting into the shoes of other person and knowing what exactly they are feeling and how helping them out, right? So this is how the social skill also is going to get developed with the help of empathy. Next is the social skills. This is what empathy will give rise to social skills. That is how they communicate with the people around them. Then the self-regulation comes. Self-regulation is wherein the how the kid is getting self-regulation in the daily routine and all. And self-awareness is wherein it is actually said that in the pre-teens, in psychology, it is said that in pre-teen and teen stages, there is a lot of confusion in the brain of a kid, which is identity versus identity crisis, wherein the identity is actually going to get developed at this age group. Okay, this is whole, as a parent, or how parenting can help at this age, particular age of preteens and teens, is totally another topic to a totally topic in itself. So moving on to the social quotient. Next slide, please. Okay, so moving on to the social quotient is how the person is going to get socially involved with the people around them. Okay, so this again, with IQ, EQ, and SQ, it again comprises the AQ, that is the adversity quotient. Adversity quotient is like how a kid is tolerating the adverse conditions, or how that kid is how that kid is how that kid is helping him out with the hurt feeling or these kind of emotions. Next slide, please. Okay, thanks. This is a high time that our kids learn memory techniques also. Memory techniques is what exactly. Memory techniques are the techniques which are used by many institutions who are preparing their students for competitive exams like IAS, MBA, and all sort of those examinations. This workshop with NLP techniques, I will also be providing them with memory techniques as well. And I believe this is the best thing you will be providing to your kid right now in this situation. And believe me, really believe me, that they are going to enjoy this workshop with us. When I say this, because when I say this, it's like I have got so many positive feedbacks from my previous students from the previous workshops. So I'm really confident about these all the workshop will give you your kids great skill, and they will build up with a great enthusiasm and everything else. So next thing is, also in the last day of the workshop, I'll be teaching them how to make notes, effectively, with the help of the memory techniques which they will learn in the previous days of the workshop. And yeah, this is all. This is all from my side. Thank you for listening to me patiently, and over to you, Vishesh. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Smriti Nayak. It was very informative. We've planned and we've tried our best to give you a complete package for your children, where right from the memory to the brain to conscious, subconscious, body, yoga flow, it takes care of not just physical exercise, not just keeping them occupied, but actually keeping them meaningfully occupied, where it could take tons and tons with them at the end of the workshop. Let's now jump right into the details of the workshop. Well, it's a 12-day workshop. We have divided the 12 days into two parts: mind techniques, mind concentration techniques, and yoga. We've divided 8 days of yoga, where if you see the PowerPoint presentation, you'll see the various aspects that we're going to focus very minutely, where we've in fact sketched out a workflow and a yoga flow to the minute, where we have taken each of these points: flexibility, strength, and we've very scientifically designed a routine and a yoga flow set which enhances these particular features, or in some cases it kind of fights the malices of some of the like anger, anxiety, sleep problems. The mind technique workshop, of course, is 4 days. This would be starting from 21st of July. That is next Monday, not this Monday, but next Monday. It will go on till 1st of August. Of course, we'll have Sundays off. We had a question in the chat box. Do we include meditation? Of course, the pranayama will be on. We will have meditation every day, included with a type of pranayama, or type of breathing exercises for a particular problem or for a particular plus point. The timing of it would be every day between 7 to 8 p.m. So in the evening. So it would be better for the parents once the school of the kids are done, but the children are free, when they would just before having their dinner, their tummies are not full. It's perfect for yoga time around the sunset, 7 to 8. The platform would be ours truly, like where we all connected today. It's going to be online Google Meet. You have to register for the program. The workshop fee per participant is 2,400. So you'll have to pay the fees after registration. If you already registered for this webinar, then we already have the registration details. All you have to do is, on the given number, you have to do your online UTI payments. You do it by either of the platforms. You could text on the number. We'll share the number on the chat box as we speak right now. So you could make the UTI payments or Google Pay payments, or there are various payment options available. If my colleagues could be putting in the number that on which you could WhatsApp, and we could get in touch with you. If you need any help with regards to online payments, nowadays, of course, no parent would need it. Doing it, like, we've all become masters of how to use technology. Hooray to that, because we are in fact using technology and getting your kids all these benefits that perhaps, and we've connected all over India at the moment. So that's how, it's how positively you've got to look at anything possible. The last day of the workshop registration is on 19th. That is the coming week end. We have a sample class as I spoke to you before that we've arranged. It's an introduction to your yoga practices. We won't be dealing with any of the particular ailments or focus points, but we'll be giving you a general preview of the feel of yoga flow that we've designed. It will be an introductory sample yoga class for the kids. Today's session was mostly parent-driven, where we explained how how we got to introduce to our session group. Tomorrow is going to be us and the kids, so it's going to be slightly more interactive like the works. If you have registered with us and if you got a link of this webinar on WhatsApp, then we could send you the same about tomorrow's workshop as well, tomorrow's sample class as well. Alternatively, if I could point out the number, it's actually on the slide. It's 703-269-6572. And if Dr. Sangeeta could also put the number on the chat box, so you could directly click on it and get in touch with us, and we would help you through with the payment issues and also any questions regarding tomorrow's live workshop. With this, I think we are opening up to question and answers. I think I was trying to get a feel of the questions as they were coming along about the payment options and about the sample class options. But if there are any more questions, of course, we'll be very happy to answer. Please, if you could mute yourself and type your questions, that would be better. It's a pleasure. Ms. Hina Zia, I think I've answered your question. Mr. S. Mishra, I think I've answered your question too. Mr. Gupta, I think I've answered. Do we have any more questions? Thank you, Ms. Gupta. Of course. Thank you, Ms. Zia. I hope you included more fun. So I hope that you found this also fun. And of course, with kids, it's going to be much more interactive. It's good. We are going to speak different language almost with them. We're going to, you have to kind of be in Rome and how you are. When in Rome, be in Roman. So when the kids kind of connect on. But also they're preteens and teens. So it's going to be, there will be no lullabies. You'll be connecting with them on a human level and understanding their human potential. More important. But of course, it's going to be, our sessions would be full of games. It would be full of, yes, sir. There's another question of those who've not registered. Yes, they could also attend the sample class, but they'll have to send in a WhatsApp on the registered number. So I hope we have put the WhatsApp number on the chat box. Dr. Sangeeta,
yeah, I'll be putting the details of tomorrow's free demo class. First, I would like to thank all the participants and Dr. Smriti Naik and Mr. Vishesh Joshi for this immense, intense, yet very enjoyable webinar, where I hope most of the parents have understood why we have come up with this idea to help our children in COVID times. I see a lot of questions coming up, and you can see the answers in the most of them are answered by Vishesh, and I'll be giving you the details of our workshop. You can visit SJ Rehab and Care, which is my physiotherapy clinic, which is now online, and you can visit us on sjrehabandcare.com, sjrehabandcare@gmail.com, and all details I'm just putting it in the chat box now. Thank you so much. I think this is the last minute saying bye to all of you, and thank you for spending your valuable time with us.
I think we've typed the email ID on the chat room already.
Yeah.
Yes, the website is been typed.
It's been typed. Okay, fine. So it's a repetition. I'll do it again. Yeah, and we have a number which is there on WhatsApp. You can always call. Feel free to talk to us. If you didn't understand any concept, we are there to help you. So please come up and do share our thoughts with your colleagues, friends who would you feel would also benefit from it. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.